US 287 has never been a strange road to me. Years of driving trucks have made me memorize every small bend, every gentle rise, even a few patches of fence that always lean under the prairie wind. But there are nights when that road feels like a different place. Too wide, too empty, too quiet. That March night in 2018 was one of them. The air was so cold that dew formed a thin layer on the corner of my windshield, and every gust of wind rattled the CB antenna like nails scraping against metal. In the distance, rows of wind turbines rose tall, their blades turning slowly, like giant creatures awake but unwilling to move. Small red lights blinked on each turbine tip, giving a quiet rhythm to the dark ocean of the Texas plains. No other cars passed for miles. No lights from the other direction. Not even a trace of another vehicle, the kind that usually reminds you someone, anyone, is sharing the same night with you. That night, I felt like the last person left in the world. I set the cruise control just under 65. The steady diesel hum and the faint warmth from my coffee thermos almost made me too comfortable. But drowsiness can't be trusted on a road like this. So I sat up straight, kept my eyes forward, while the truck's headlights sliced into the darkness as far as they could reach. Then, out of the rolling black, something appeared. At first I thought it was just a reflection, maybe a bush or a marker post catching the light. But as I got closer, the shape became clearer, a figure standing on the shoulder of the road. She looked like she was in the wrong place entirely. Too thin, too fragile, too alive to be standing there on a deserted highway at 3 in the morning. Both her hands were waving something, her movements broken and desperate, like an SOS signal running out of strength. Her hair whipped wildly in the rough prairie wind. Her body hunched slightly, as if bracing against the stabbing cold. No jacket on her shoulders, no bag like a hitchhiker usually carries. Just thin clothes, and a fear so obvious in her posture it hit me like a warning. The truck's headlights washed over her face, revealing eyes wide like someone who had just escaped something impossible to explain. I slowed down carefully, my instincts fighting between caution and moral duty. Out here, finding someone alone on the shoulder often becomes a story that never ends well. I grabbed my CB mic and called for anyone who might hear. DPS, county sheriff, other truckers, anyone. But only static answered, as if the whole radio network had fallen asleep. When we were just a few meters apart, the woman suddenly ran. Not walked faster, not waved harder. She ran straight toward my truck, slamming her fists against the passenger door like someone out of options. Her voice broke against the glass and wind, her words choked with panic. I couldn't understand what she was screaming. Just fragments, shreds of sound, and raw fear. I lowered the window slightly, enough to hear, but not enough for the wind to tear inside. And that's when I heard her clearly, a sentence that stopped my blood for a moment. Please, he's coming back! Please let me in. But there was no room for doubt in her voice. No drama, no performance, just pure fear. The kind born from something darker than the night outside. I unlocked the door without thinking twice. The moment it clicked open, she climbed in so fast I thought she might slip. Her body trembled violently, her breath uneven, and her eyes fixed on the windshield, as if something could appear at any moment from that darkness. I had barely taken a breath and realized how violently the woman was shaking, when something in the side mirror made my whole body tense. For a moment, I thought it was just light from a wind turbine, or a random reflection from the empty road. But the shape grew clearer, too structured to be a shadow, too large to be a small vehicle, and far too close to be a coincidence. A pickup truck, its headlights completely off. Its silhouette burst out of the darkness, like a hunting animal slipping from behind brush, waiting for its prey to drop its guard. Only its front grille occasionally caught my headlights, just enough to reveal the rough frame of the vehicle, but not enough to show a plate, or even a color. The pickup moved in a way that wasn't normal. Not steady, not slow, but not fully aggressive either. Something was off about the way it traveled, like someone who knew exactly what they were chasing, and was certain they'd get it. The woman in the passenger seat saw the reflection, almost at the same moment I did. Her pale face drained even further. Her body went stiff, then snapped into full-blown panic. The scream that tore out of her made me whip my head around. Go! Now! Please, don't let him get close! Her fear was so raw, My adrenaline surged so fast, my chest felt hot. I didn't have time to ask who the man in the pickup was. Didn't have time to ask why the lights were off. Didn't have time to figure out whether we were being attacked or crossing paths with someone dangerously drunk. All of that analysis vanished beneath the pure panic in this woman and the pickup moving like a predator that had just caught its scent. I shifted gears, pressed the pedal, and the whole rig shook violently. The trailer swung behind us, and the hiss of air brakes filled the cab. The pickup didn't slow down. It sped up. Within seconds, it pulled onto our right side, then cut across the front of the truck, forcing my rig to choose slam the brakes or crash. I chose neither. I hit the hazards and laid on the horn, a long blast that usually makes small cars scatter, but the pickup didn't move. It stayed there, hovering in front of us in a jagged zigzag, like someone trying to force us to stop, like someone who didn't care if they destroyed themselves in the process. I stayed straight, kept the pedal down, let the speed climb slowly but heavily, 30,000 kilograms of momentum behind me. At the last second, the pickup hesitated. Its movement wavered, then suddenly swerved wide toward the shoulder. Its rear tires kicked up dust and gravel, and then it vanished from our lane. In the mirror, I saw only its dark shape fading, overpowered by the mass of my rig. Only after those long seconds passed did the pickup's lights come on, not following me, not trying to cut me again. Its beams pierced the dark, angled toward the slope of the plains, and disappeared, as if the driver decided he didn't need to chase any further tonight, or far worse, that he could simply wait for another opportunity. I didn't wait to find out. I took the first exit with any kind of steady light, turning sharply enough that the trailer tires screeched. Pulling into a flickering neon 24-hour station, I finally slowed down. But the tension in the cab didn't change. The woman was still staring at the road, in front of the station, as if certain the pickup would appear around the bend at any moment. With my hands trembling a bit, I grabbed my phone. 2 bars of signal, enough to call 911. I gave the operator the location, the situation, and the woman's condition as quickly as I could. They told me to stay inside the vehicle and wait for the nearest unit. After hanging up, I handed her my water bottle. Her hands shook as she took it. Not just shook, her palms were cold, as if warmth had left her body. Long before I found her on the road, after a few sips, she was finally able to speak. Her story wasn't long, just fragments broken by breath and fear. She said a man had offered her a ride outside Amarillo, promising a safe trip to Oklahoma City. At first, she believed him, but when she asked to be dropped at a station, he refused. The doors locked, the windows locked. His tone changed, from friendly to threatening. Words she couldn't fully repeat made her panic even more. When the pickup slowed on the shoulder, she decided to jump. Her knees scraped, her hands bruised, but she didn't look back. She just ran. The pickup stopped, then turned around. She thought she was done, until the lights of my truck appeared in the distance, and she ran toward me, like someone choosing the last chance they had to live. 15 minutes felt like an hour before the patrol car finally pulled into the lot. Red and blue lights washed over the hood of my truck, making everything feel more real. I stepped out slowly, keeping my hands visible, then gave a short explanation. The county deputies moved fast, one taking the woman's statement, another sweeping the frontage road. There was no sign of the pickup. They said a vehicle like that could have turned down any dirt road, leading to ranch land scattered for hundreds of miles. In darkness like that, someone could vanish completely. The woman agreed immediately. When they offered to take her to a shelter in Amarillo, before getting into the cruiser, she looked at me for a moment, with eyes still carrying that fear. "Thank you," she said quietly, almost a murmur. I just nodded, feeling unworthy of the thanks, because I only did what anyone should have done. A week later, a trooper called, saying the case was filed. No matching pickup, no arrest. That was it, as if the whole thing was just a fragment from a lonely night on a long road. But every time I think of that stretch, I can still hear her voice, panicked, strangled, utterly certain that something was chasing her, out of the dark. Since then, every time I see someone standing on the shoulder, I call first. and keep driving. And I never stop in the dark again. That night, I traveled Highway 50 with a calmness that felt a little too smooth to trust. The road stretched like a long thread, pulled straight across the Nevada desert, cutting through the dry, cracked spine of the earth. The asphalt ahead looked like a black ribbon, with no end, stretching so far. It seemed to merge with the dark horizon. Even though the moon was bright, its light could only give the world around me a faint outline, sagebrush standing stiff like charcoal silhouettes, and the distant mountains looking like backdrop props. Pinned against the night sky, I was hauling a light load, dry goods that needed no special handling. From Ely to Fallon, a routine trip, a routine road, a night that should have been routine. The cab was warm from the AC, and even though my body was tired, after long work hours, my plan was simple: find a clean turnout a few miles ahead, and sleep for a bit, before continuing west. No time pressure. No deadlines chasing me, just me, my truck, and a highway that felt endless. But the silence that night felt different. Not the calming kind, but the kind that feels like it's watching you. The radio wouldn't catch any frequency, only letting out bursts of broken static before dying completely. No cars passing, no headlights dancing in my mirrors. Even the wind outside seemed reluctant to move, only sliding thinly along the trailer. Whenever I nudged the speed up, there was a moment when I felt the desert itself was holding its breath, as if the earth and sky were waiting for something that hadn't happened yet, but was already present somehow. But the road stayed empty, and I kept driving, trying to convince myself that everything was fine, until that dark shape appeared at the edge of my vision. From a distance, maybe almost a mile, I saw it. An unnatural shape, boxy, dark, like something deliberately placed to block the road. Not moving, not shifting, just waiting. I slowed the truck gradually, letting my headlights dig the shape out of the darkness. The closer I got, the clearer it became. Not a block, not debris, not a fallen tree, like I first assumed. It was a sedan, parked sideways, completely blocking both lanes. A crude barricade, from someone who didn't care, who might come through. No hazard lights, no emergency signs, no open hood. The driver's door left slightly ajar, as if someone had stepped out in a hurry, or abandoned it on purpose. There was no logical reason for anyone to stop like that. On Highway 50, especially on a night with no signal, and no one around to help, I eased into the Jake brake, then shut it off. An instinctive move, like my body knew loud noise wasn't a good idea. The truck hummed under my hands as I kept the wheel steady. My eyes swept left, then right, searching for something, anything, that could explain it. And that's when I saw it. A low movement, not a random flicker, behind the sagebrush, on the left side of the road. Too fast for a small animal, too low for a standing person. Like someone crouching, crawling. Then another movement, on the opposite side, as if both were waiting for the same cue. Cold washed down my spine, pushing into my fingertips. There was no room for doubt anymore. That car wasn't an accident, wasn't a stalled vehicle, and wasn't someone needing help. That sedan was placed with intent, an intent that made the night air feel heavier than before. On Highway 50, a bad decision doesn't just lead to trouble, it can end everything. The shoulder was too steep and fragile, one miscalculation, and my truck could slip and roll into the rocky terrain. And if I stopped right in front of that sedan, I knew exactly what was waiting for me, behind those sagebrush bushes. Backing up wasn't an option. A trailer that long couldn't be maneuvered safely in the dark. The road was too narrow, straight like it was built for one direction only. And on the left and right, those two people were hiding, waiting for the smallest chance to move in. In a situation like this, there was only one move. That was safe enough, and crazy enough, to go forward. I downshifted, feeling the engine drop into a lower, denser growl. My left hand gripped the wheel, My right slammed the air horn, long and loud. The sound shattered the desert silence, cutting through distant hills. And for a moment, I could feel every bush and rock vibrating around me, but no warning came back. No shout. No one stepping out of the sedan, waving their arms. The night stayed mute, and it confirmed all of my fears. When the distance shrank to just a few meters, my body tensed on its own. I shifted my posture slightly, bracing for the impact that would ripple through the cab when my truck met that dead weight. And then, a massive hit, deep, felt straight into my ribs. The front bumper slammed the sedan's side, dragging it like a toy. That didn't stand a chance. Its tires screeched across the gravel, scraping asphalt, and the metal groaned as it was shoved aside. By the weight of my truck, movement in the bushes exploded instantly. Two figures leapt out of the darkness, but not toward the road. They retreated fast, dodging the possibility of being clipped by my trailer. That wasn't the reaction of someone scared or panicking. That was the reaction of people who knew exactly what they were doing, people who were counting on drivers like me to stop, step out of the cab, and become easy targets. They picked the wrong driver. The sedan shifted far enough, opening a narrow gap, but enough for me to pass. I kept a steady speed and held the truck straight. The trailer shook violently as it squeezed past the car, forced through a space that was never meant for it. I gripped the wheel tight and focused on the white line on the asphalt, the only anchor I had that night. Only when I felt a small jolt, the sign that the back end of the trailer had cleared the sedan, did I allow myself to breathe again. I kept my speed around 55 miles per hour, fully focused, watching every turnout that looked like a dark hole where anyone could hide. The plan to stop and rest was gone completely. I kept forcing myself to drive until I was close to the legal work hour limit, right when the sky in the east started turning blue and the shapes of the desert slowly appeared again in the distance. Only when I reached a truck stop outside Fallon did my body finally feel shaky. Neon lights buzzed, rows of trucks stood like lines of silent guards, and for the first time since the night before, I felt like I was back. Near civilization, I parked the truck with the nose facing outward, shut off the engine, with hands still tense, then stepped out to check the damage. On the front bumper was a long streak of paint, not my color, left across the lower side. Proof that I hadn't imagined anything that happened. Inside, I used a payphone to call the highway patrol. I explained the location, the direction I was traveling, and what I saw behind the bushes. The officer on the line didn't sound surprised. He said I wasn't the first driver to report deliberate roadblocks in that area. Could be thieves, could be something worse, he said. He logged my report and added another warning for drivers, as if cases like this came and went without ever truly ending. Since that night, I never sleep on Highway 50 again. I choose truck stops with bright lights, no matter how expensive the cost. And if someday another car is stopped sideways on the road, I know what I'll do: horn and geometry. Because that night taught me one simple, terrible thing. In the dark, some people wait for one thing: your kindness. They want you to stop. And in a place like that, kindness is the door. They're trying to break open